Hello again, my darling friends, and welcome back to Away, episode 3, where finals are slowly but surely crushing not only my back, but also my will to live. But luckily, there's been some reprieve, and that has been my gallery shows. A few have opened. The one we closed on last week, we were prepping the frame, and I showed you the hanging process. It opened, and this is kind of like a little bit of the reception. I'm kind of embarrassed to film in public, so I didn't do it a lot, but yeah, and pretty much right after that one, I had another one, and that was this one, and it was a really great one, and I want to talk to you about it. Um, yeah, because simultaneously with school, I've also been, of course, we've talked about my 10 gallery goal, started technically Jan of last year, wanted to be ended by, I guess, Jan of this year, and so yeah. The first show opened on the 27th of November. That was Craze for the Terracon Theater. This is New Vistas. Yeah, this opened up, I believe, on January 3rd. I showed up the blurb and I've just kind of been taking you guys through some of the pieces. This, though, is a friend of mine. I wanted to highlight this real quick. Isabella Nicastro, yeah, we met each other through a project we're doing. So, like, no, you can, you know, if you don't mind.
Where should I put it?
What resonates with you?
Resonates with me.
There we go.
Italia. Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, it was pretty cool to get to participate in this alongside a bunch of other artists, my friend included. It was pure coincidence actually, but yeah, there were a lot of really talented artists there. This was one of my favorite paintings actually. Overall, there were some sculpture works as well, and I'm just gonna kind of continue going through them while I talk about it a bit. This was great. I mean, I actually got interviewed here. I don't have the footage yet, and when I do, maybe I'll show you guys. But until then, I gotta say, it was pretty packed. You know, they even had like refreshments and everything, which was classy and nice. Not that I expected it to be not nice, but it was great. They even had like an open jury situation where everyone had like a ballot to vote on their favorite piece, and I gotta say the piece that won was gorgeous, but I really expected like my favorite painting, the guy I showed you earlier, to win. So much so that like I almost considered not voting for him because I was like, oh, it's gonna be such a landslide. Like I was thinking about voting for someone who I thought like would have been a runner-up or something, to give him, you know, lengthen the odds. But no, and they didn't tell us the rankings. Otherwise, I would have been very curious because I saw a lot of people talk to him about his piece, myself included. Not much, unfortunately. He seemed quite rather busy, but I'm also saying that because the range of artists was quite high. It was for centered around emerging artists in general, but like there were some of us that were older, younger, etc. But it was awesome. Enough on that though. This is a bit of a flashback. I kind of just wanted to take you through all the galleries, or all the footage I have anyway, of the 10 gallery goal, because I've hit it. Sorry to keep going a little all over the place, but that's kind of how things have been lately, because I looked up and I've done the math. I have this little like note I keep on the side, and I realized that, oh my god, this is another one. I hit the goal, which is great. I love doing all of this work, but it's just been back to back to back. I think all of these galleries, this is another one I did. I don't have photos of where this was hung, but it was hung again later, as you saw in New Vistas. And this was another one, just a digital piece I got printed. And yeah, this is a screenshot of my friend who found it in the exhibition space. And of course, there was the one I did in Germany that was also incredible in the summer. And like a week, I think actually I even missed the closing reception of this because then I flew back to Canada to go to school. This is footage of me working on it over the summer. So I don't know how much we've spoken about it, but 3 months abroad, it was amazing. I loved, that's actually a photo of me on the right there. I did some photography as well, or modeling rather, I guess, alongside a lot of my pieces. I trust you can discern which one are which. One of the corpses are mine though, the white one. I did a lot of collaborative stuff with my friend, the illustrator who I talk about sometimes. But yeah, so this I think was number 5, or I think 7. I was at 7 galleries when I went to this in August. The one I showed you prior was March, the one before that, also March or Feb. So I hadn't gotten a lot done. I had some like smaller fish to fry. But I was just thinking about how I wanted to complete the goal. And now this footage is, I started working for an artist whom I met through another job. And as I'm doing all this gallery stuff, I learned that I have a lot left to learn. So seeking out an older artist, she's a lot more established. As you can see, she's got her practice set up. Like even her packing methods are so interesting. So I learned from her. I helped her to set up the show. She brought like literally every single piece of artwork she had. And I wasn't the curator or anything. I was literally just labor. I was just a grunt man that day, but I learned a lot, and I've learned a lot throughout this process. So like I said, I was keeping tally, you know, gradually, slowly, going from 7 in the summer to when I checked again, I realized I'd done 12. I surpassed the 10 goal, and I've done 12. Obviously, I don't count this as one of them. This is just like me showing it because I think it was a really cool thing. It was a really interesting day for me to really learn a lot. Tatiana Hutinek, that's my boss's name. This was As Above, So Below is the name of this exhibition. This is another one. This was actually this piece. We landed on a bit of a cliffhanger, I believe, last week. And from here, things are going to slow down a bit, kind of. I say as we entered the time lapse. But I was working away on this piece last week, and this is when things started to get really, really, really hectic, because unfortunately a lot of my gallery deadlines coincided with my school deadlines. So you've been seeing some of the school projects I've been working on, you've been seeing kind of just what I've been up to, and now that we're back together, you understand that, you know, it's been a bit cray. It's been a little bit crazy pants. Nothing I can't handle, of course, but, you know, no rest for the wicked, right? That's what I always say. But this piece was one that I found really fun. I really enjoyed working on it, and the gallery is part of, again, I joined a bit at random. So like I said, I'm North Indian. I'm technically been raised Hindu, and I've found that there are a lot of gallery opportunities open for South Indian art at large. And as someone that falls into the category, that's something that I wanted to explore. So I made this piece kind of in response to the idea of responding to Hindu Dharma. I'll be straight honest, I'm not a very religious person, but I still feel very connected to the storytelling elements of the religion and the cultural elements of the religion. I feel like, especially in India, but kind of everywhere, they're deeply interwoven. But it was a lovely painting. This is like lore-based, Hindu mythology-based. Basically, the woman I'm painting, her name is Draupadi, and she has been more or less like forced to marry 5 men, and that's okay. They're 5 brothers. Her real husband was among the 5 brothers. When he brought her home, he was like, he didn't name her properly, and it was a whole thing. This is just me overlaying this digitally so I can kind of compare my pieces. This is gonna happen a couple times in this video, just because it's a big part of my process, and I realized I wasn't showing that to you guys. But anyways, yeah, so his mom kind of is like, he's like, oh, I brought something home, basically. It doesn't say what it is. And his mom is like, okay, great, share it with your brothers. And he's like, oh. And you know how old mythology is. It's very much your word is binds you. So anyway, that happens. And then there's this man in the corner you see in the painting. What happens is Draupadi is kind of like kidnapped-ish. It's more like she's head on trial. She's put on trial, rather. So this is a depiction of her in the courtroom with this prince who is ripping off her sari. Sorry, the angle's a little weird. I need to get a proper tripod to figure out how to film these correctly. Right now, you're just propped up on my couch. Oh, what's that? Nothing. Anyway, yeah. So he is like one of the bad guys, essentially, and he puts her in trial, and he wants to prove that she's an immoral woman. So he tries to like strip her out of her sari, out of her clothes. And in the last ditch effort, she prays to God, Lord Krishna, and she says like, basically, like, please save me from the situation. And his hands come down, he's almighty, and he feeds endless fabric to her dress, so she's never like exposed. So I really liked the tale. I thought it was really really interesting. I loved painting it. It inspired a later painting I had to do then for class right after. Or rather, maybe even during. I might have not even fully finished this piece by the time I had to make the one for class. But, you know. Anyway, you can see me comparing my digital sketch here. And kind of just... Oh my god, that's my friend Suki! I forgot. This was when she was staying with me. So yeah, this was peak chaos. I'm like painting away and my poor little Pookie is just fast asleep. Oh, I love my friend Suki. But... yeah, though this might look laid back, it was quite tight, to be honest with you. And I'm managing, and it's okay. But, I mean, managing is a bit of an understatement, or overstatement, rather. No, understatement. Because I love it. I love painting. As you can see, my lovely palette this is literally a takeout container. But, you know, I'm looking to make some upgrades to my studio soon. Until then, here is do we have the finished? No, we're another time lapse. I think I painted for like 3 days straight. I had started the piece and then got preoccupied with schoolwork and other work. I also work good few jobs right now. This including this, it's more than a few. Anyway, we've got the proper staple cut of this, and that's the finished piece right there. So it was kind of a rush job, granted. I mean, finished it in a day, can't complain about that. But as soon as I finished that, I was back to OCAD to finish both this piece, you remember her, because this is going on show, or was going on show. I think this happened December, or last week, November rather, I believe. Yeah, it went down December 2nd, so something like that. November 25th or something like that, I think. So this was the installation process with my classmates. We were actually being marked on installment, stuff like that. So, I had to work on that, and then the one in the back was the one I talked about that kind of is influenced from the Draupadi painting. So here it is. I kind of just, I wanted to do something feminist-based without being, I guess, maybe too derivative. It is in a way, but, so in that scene, Draupadi is kind of just, she's not a damsel in distress per se. I think I tried my best to not paint her like that. But she still doesn't look very angry, because I did my research before, and in a lot of the depictions she's not. And with such a religious painting, I want to be careful to respect the imagery, so I don't want to make her look too violent. But I still had those violent feelings, like it's tough being a woman, though God help me, y'all know it is. But that ferocity was something I really wanted to show off. So in this, they're pulling at her jewelry instead of her clothes. They being these, they're technically non-gendered, but you can say they're the men, patriarchy, you could say really whatever you want. And she's just standing strong, and she's ready to backhand these fuckers. She's ready to just work through them, honestly. Her figure's way bigger than them. This is me just working off my sketch and kind of just going from there during one of my 800 all-nighters. Y'all, I think I pulled 6 all-nighters in 2 weeks. It was a lot. And I've got some marigolds here just to help me get in the mood. But a ferocious woman was something I wanted to depict, not just in spite of who's pulling her down, not because of it certainly, but something like that. So this is kind of the time lapse of that being born with the digital edition, and how it changes from after that digital version, and continues until we got here, what I consider the final piece. And eventually when I do a studio tour or something of the like, I'll show it to you in more in depth. But yeah, I was reasonably happy with it. You can see already on the easel, I'm starting to work on the next batch of paintings. There's a sneak peek for that related to the Stress Desserts project that we talked about previously. Technically the next installment. So it was really just one after the other. I think technically I had a break during reading week, but since I was working, not really. So when I said I was doing a lot of all-nighters, I was not kidding. This was recorded at 3 a.m. when I've had a giant roll of paper that I might use. Shenanigans. Me running around OCAD like a lost baby, because that's basically what I was, okay? But yeah, on the page of Stress Desserts, this is them, if you don't remember. Ice cream, you scream, jealousy and satisfaction, sours, apples, and satisfaction, like I said. And this was me one night, painting away. I really, really did enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. It was just, like I said, 6 all-nighters in 2 weeks is asking a lot from anybody. I think I was tasting colors at this point. It's 3:43 a.m. Yeah, it was a lot. And yeah, I did have to finish. So like I said, the gallery deadlines, as soon as basically my show's opened, the week after that, final critiques, baby. So I had to get the piece you saw earlier. I called it, what did I call it? Leave it. Basically, there's a Hindi phrase like rendo, which basically means let it go, leave it. It's almost like a common phrase. And then I had to finish my entire Stress Dessert series. And as you can see, the one on the left is fucking huge. It was 6.5 feet on a mattress stretcher that I painted. And here's just me sketching it because I had to work out some layout stuff, some composition stuff. And here's a compilation of that, me figuring it out from start to bottom. But you can see it's huge. That's not a picture of the art. That's reference photos. That's research. Important. But it's massive, bro. It took a fucking long time. And I had to cram it all because guess what? I didn't tell you this prior, but right before my final critique, I was leaving. I am leaving. I'm going somewhere. Guess where I'm going? I'm not telling you, but I can tell you that I need a fucking break. And this is my final crit setup. Kind of had to flash forward here. This happened after my little disappearing act, which I'll tell you about next week. So, later!